Lindsay here, here with another model railroad update. I know it's been a while, but there have been some things happening around here, not the least of which has been the closing of the world's largest model train store, which I also happen to know as my local hobby shop, Caboose Hobbies. They are calling it quits. Dwayne is taking advantage of this situation with their landlord and the possible change of venue to say, you know what, I think I deserve retirement, and that's fine. I'm not going to hold that against him. He's been doing us all a solid for decades now, and I feel fortunate that I've been able to call that my local hobby shop. So that's that. Maybe this will leave room for some enterprising young soul to get into the business, free from such massive competition in this area, and see if they can't give us an opportunity, even if it's not the world's largest model train store, at least give us an opportunity to be able to walk in and get some stuff off the shelf instead of having to wait for it in the mail. So anyway, that's that. In the meantime, of course, thanks to people like James Wright, Derek Glass, and Rob and or Stephen Bennett, whoever's responsible for building that particular railroad, have steered me towards some online retailers like Train World, Spring Creek Model Trains, Midwest Model Railroad, and Scenic Express. So as long as I'm willing to wait for the mailman or the UPS guy, then that's how we'll be doing things from now on, I guess. So unfortunate, but that's life in the big city. So speaking of the big city, getting some more work done on things around on this railroad. No, I am not backdating necessarily. I just wanted to give some of my old Burlington and Colorado and Southern stuff a workout, which has been plenty of fun, particularly this GE unit. This Walters Proto runs like a top. So anyway, I'll take you around, show you some of the stuff that I've been working on since the last model update, and then that'll be that. See you in a bit. Alright, what we can see here is I've got a little more ground cover going on now. See on that track where that Rio Grande train is sitting. Used to be all naked and so forth, and here in the shop facilities you see there's things have been ground covered, and now it's a matter of working out how to connect the earth here with the buildings and kind of get everything blended together, start to make it look like it was put there on purpose. I've been working on some of these Rick's telephone poles. In this case I made a double drop right here that's going to go by the shop area to feed power to the shop and to some of the equipment that's standing there next to the sanding tower. So a little difficult to put together just in terms of I don't have the tiny little tweezers and things like that to clamp those things into place while the glue is setting up, because they don't like to. It's not like that nice white styrene where the second it touches super glue it bonds to whatever happens to be in the vicinity. So anyway, other thing I've been doing, lightening up the color of the dirt. If you can see over there on that section, there is significantly darker than there. And basically just picked dirt from a different part of the property around here and sifted it and got a nice light tan color, which is pretty typical to this area. So maybe in some of the older days the darker dirt would have been appropriate when everything was sooted up and oiled up and basically polluted to the point that when they scraped away all the railroad tracks in the 80s or whatever, it could have been declared a Superfund site. So anyway, been working on that, been planting little grass tufts there, and got this little piece of abandoned connecting track here. Hand laid a little bit of a abandoned rail line here to simulate a former connection between here and where it would continue off and follow the east side of the Platte River as the Colorado and Southern east side line. So there's actually a direct line from Rice Yard along the river through here and then connecting to the railroad at this spot right here. So I've modeled that as an abandoned operation that I think finally the last piece of that was torn up in the 90s. Very early 90s, if not the late 80s. So that's why running the Q equipment on this railroad isn't necessarily appropriate, because when everything was Chinese red, this actually was still an active rail line. So that's what's been going on there. And I said I was going to build the rock dock, and there it is. Okay, so there's the rock dock, and it's not entirely complete yet, but I did the wooden retaining wall here, and experimented with some grass mat. It might look a little bright green, but in real life it's a little more appropriate to the area, and it darkened down a little bit when I added some dirt and things like that, and kind of starting to flush out where the storage tanks and some of the facility for West Metro Petro is going to go into place. I had some smaller tree armatures and an old Woodland Scenics kit, so I tried my hand at making a tree using some ground foam, flocking, and a little bit of spray glue. So basically just working out little scenic details and things like that. Once I'm happy with the condition of the piers and have finished painting the rail and done the weathering and the rails and everything on the handrails on this upper deck, the way it's put together is it pops off like that. So gravity is just holding this bridge piece on for the time being, so that way I can pop it off and work on it, and yet it's still functional enough that I can run the locomotives out and do the switchback maneuvers I need to in order to push and pull cars from West Metro Petro there. So that's how that's going, and we'll go around and look at another little scenic detail that I've been working on. And I've been working on this little culvert here. This is basically where Decatur Street heads south, and hence the Decatur Street scrapyard over here. And then in a very bold move of selective compression, not 30 feet west of that will be the Federal Boulevard overpass, but there's this little channel that kind of runs underneath Decatur right where it meets the tracks, and then pops out on the other side over here. So this is the most visible portion of that, and again using some more of that grass mat to put some of the foliage in there. Usually find there's some pretty good growth along waterways, and the detail you can't really see in here, and that's kind of on purpose, is that this is actually split through here with a path on this side and the creek running on this side of the culvert. So there's a little bike path that runs to the right of that, and it has to be there because that's part of the detail of going underneath the very distinctive Federal Boulevard overpass. So just to help kind of complete that scene, this is a little bit of setup that was basically some low-hanging fruit for me to work on, and it cost me next to nothing to do it, which is a good place for me to be in right now. So anyway, we'll go around and look at one other detail here. Okay, we've also got some work done on the fish tank, and it's starting to take on the appearance that I was hoping for. Got a nice flat surface in here for us to kind of build upon. Just got the basic ground cover and the track and everything's there, so if I need to add weeds or whatever, fine. Of course, the east side of the I-25 overpass has got to go in here to cover up this hole, and I may have to continue this backdrop around here. We'll sort that out. Just having anything to this stage of completion at this point is good enough. And I took some of those hockey puck lights and mounted them. That one's hot. Look before you reach, kids. Mounted them here and here, and you can see it's pooling a little bit. Those will eventually be replaced by a little 2-foot LED fluorescent unit. So it'll have the nice continuous even lighting, similar to what I've got planned for in the main railroad room there. But that gets us to our connection with the staging yards right about here. So that's working out nicely. And then anti-kitty door, everything works So nice little piece of the railroad right there. All right, so that's what's been going on around here. Tiny amounts of progress, but I'm having plenty of fun operating it and working out kind of the train sequence and schedules and the particular way in which freight is moved to and fro on this layout. And I've actually got it to where there are 4 main operations that have to happen in the space of either a week or a day. Have to do a little more research to see exactly what kind of frequency I should be working out in terms of how many carloads that size of a brewery would actually take. But with them being the primary customer on this railroad, they'll determine the traffic levels around here. But otherwise, it's starting to look a little bit more like a railroad than when I first started, and in less than a year. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. And so anyway, plenty of more work to do, and one less significant hobby shop with which to do it. But that's quite all right. The world keeps turning, and I'm going to keep building on this model railroad. So until the next update, until I've made some significant progress, that'll be that for now. See y'all later. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and thanks for coming out.